The hospital's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry wasps, casting everything in that sickly greenish tint that made even healthy people look half dead. I pressed my forehead against the cold window of the ICU waiting room, watching my reflection blur against the darkness outside. 3 days. 3 days since Mom collapsed, and the doctors kept using words like critical and aggressive treatment, and, the one that made my stomach twist into knots, experimental procedures not covered by insurance. My phone buzzed for the 14th time. Another text from the billing department, another number with too many zeros. I didn't open it. "Miss Chen?" A nurse appeared in the doorway, her face professionally sympathetic. "Your mother is asking for you." I followed her down the sterile hallway, my sneakers squeaking against the linoleum. Everything smelled like disinfectant trying to mask something worse. Death, maybe, or desperation. Mom looked so small in that hospital bed, surrounded by machines that beeped and whirred, keeping her tethered to life by threads I couldn't afford. "Baby," she whispered, her voice paper-thin. Her hand felt like bird bones when I took it. "You shouldn't be spending money on—" "Don't." I forced a smile that felt like shattered glass. "Don't worry about money. Just focus on getting better." But we both knew the truth. I'd already sold my car, maxed out every credit card, borrowed from everyone who'd listen. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. That night I stood outside the hospital entrance, smoking a cigarette I'd bummed off someone despite never smoking before. The cherry glowed red in the darkness, and I watched it burn down to my fingers, wondering if this is what giving up felt like. "You're going to burn yourself." I jumped, dropping the cigarette. A woman stood beside me, mid-40s, elegant in a way that screamed money. Her coat probably cost more than my rent. She wore red lipstick like war paint, and studied me with eyes that saw too much. "Sorry. I didn't mean to startle you." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You look like someone standing on a ledge." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Is it that obvious?" I recognized the look. Had it myself once. She pulled out a business card, pressed it into my palm. The paper felt expensive, heavy. "When you're ready to step back from that ledge, or jump in a different direction entirely, call this number." "What is this?" I squinted at the card. No name, just a phone number embossed in gold. An opportunity. For women who need money fast and aren't afraid of unconventional solutions. She turned to leave, her heels clicking against the pavement. "They'll explain everything. But fair warning, once you walk through that door, you can't unknow what's on the other side." I should have thrown the card away, should have crumpled it up and tossed it in the nearest trash can. Instead, I tucked it into my pocket, feeling its weight like a stone. 2 days later, I made the call. The address led me to the kind of restaurant I'd only seen in movies. All dark wood, crystal chandeliers, and the kind of silence that comes with extreme wealth. A hostess who looked like a runway model guided me through the main dining room to a private area in the back. Every table was occupied by men in suits that cost more than I'd make in a year, speaking in low voices while beautiful women hung on their arms like expensive accessories. My stomach turned. I knew what this was. Of course I knew. "Miss Chen?" A man materialized beside me, tall, immaculately dressed, with silver at his temples, and a smile that belonged on a shark. "I'm Victor. Please, have a seat." The private room was smaller, more intimate. Velvet curtains, dim lighting, a table set for two even though this clearly wasn't a date. Victor sat across from me, folding his hands like a businessman about to discuss quarterly profits. "I'll be direct," he said. "You need money. A significant amount, quickly. We can provide that." "In exchange for what?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. "One night. With a client of our establishment. Afterward, you walk away with enough to cover your mother's treatment and then some." The words hung in the air between us, ugly and honest. I thought about Mom's face, gray against white sheets, thought about the number on my phone that kept growing like cancer, thought about the ledge that woman had mentioned. "How much?" Victor named a figure that made my vision blur. Enough for the experimental treatment, enough to clear the debt, enough to breathe again. "Who's the client?" "That information is disclosed only after you agree, but I can tell you this. He's one of our most exclusive clients. Powerful, particular about what he wants, and what he wants Victor's eyes traveled over me with clinical assessment. Is someone exactly like you? Like me? I laughed, hollow. Broke and desperate? Innocent. Real, untouched by this world. He slid a contract across the table. He has specific requirements, no experience in this line of work. Someone who still has that spark of defiance, that edge of fear. Someone who hasn't learned to fake it yet. My hands shook as I picked up the pen. This was insane. Illegal, probably. Definitely immoral. But Mom's face kept floating in front of my eyes, and the machines that kept her alive cost money I didn't have. One night, I heard myself say, "And then I'm done." One night, Victor agreed. I signed my name on the dotted line and felt something inside me break. Or maybe it was the sound of a cage door slamming shut. They took me to a penthouse suite in the kind of hotel that has a waiting list years long. 2 women fussed over me like I was a doll. Expensive lingerie that felt like sin against my skin. A dress that cost more than my education. Makeup that transformed my face into something I barely recognized. They waxed and buffed and polished until I gleamed. "He'll be here at 10, one of them said, adjusting the thin strap of my dress. "Don't try to run. Security is everywhere. Just do what he asks, and you'll be fine." Fine. As if selling yourself could ever be fine. They left me alone in the suite at 9:30. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, 1,000 lights twinkling like trapped stars. The room smelled like expensive cologne and new leather. A bottle of champagne sat chilling in ice, condensation running down the bottle like tears. I paced, my unfamiliar heels clicking on marble floors. Every shadow made me jump. Every sound in the hallway sent my heart racing. I'd never done anything like this, never even had a serious boyfriend. Now I was waiting for a stranger to arrive and the door opened. I spun around, my breath catching. The man who entered wasn't what I expected. Young, maybe early 30s. Tall, with dark hair styled with casual precision and a face that belonged on magazine covers. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than my mother's entire medical bill, tailored so perfectly it looked painted on. 2 men in dark suits flanked him, bodyguards clearly, before he waved them away with a subtle gesture. But it was his eyes that trapped me, dark, intense, burning with something that made my skin prickle. He looked at me the way a predator studies prey. Not with hunger exactly, but with absolute focus, like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. "You're younger than I expected," he said. His voice was deep, smooth, with an accent I couldn't place. Not quite Italian, not quite something else. "I'm 23. My voice trembled. I hated that. Hated showing weakness. He moved closer, and I caught his scent. Something dark and expensive, cedar and smoke and danger. He circled me slowly, studying me from every angle, and I felt naked despite the dress, exposed despite the makeup. "Why are you here?" He stopped in front of me, so close I could feel the heat radiating from his body. "You know why." Victor said, "I know what Victor told you. I'm asking why you agreed." His hand came up, fingers grazing my jaw, tilting my face toward the light. "What desperation drives someone like you to this?" Tears burned behind my eyes. I refused to let them fall. "My mother is dying. The treatment cost more than I could make in 5 lifetimes. This is the only way." Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. His thumb traced my lower lip, and I trembled despite myself. "One night," I whispered. "That's what I agreed to. So let's just get this over with." He smiled, but it wasn't cruel. It was something darker, more complex. "Get it over with. Cara Mia, you have no idea what you've walked into." His hand moved to my neck, fingers wrapping gently around my throat, not squeezing, just holding, claiming. My pulse hammered against his palm. "What's your name?" "Emma." "Emma." He said it like tasting wine. "Do you know who I am?" I shook my head, not trusting my voice. "My name is Dante Moretti, and I didn't pay for one night with you, Emma." His grip tightened slightly, sending electricity down my spine. "I paid for all of them." The world tilted. "What?" "Victor sold me exclusive rights to you. Every night, Every moment, until I decide I'm finished. He leaned in, his lips brushing my ear. You belong to me now. The contract. I never read the fine print. Oh God, that's not... He can't. He can. He did. The money is already in your account. Your mother's treatment is being scheduled as we speak. Dante pulled back, studying my face as panic flooded through me. You sold yourself, Emma, and I bought you. The only question now is what I'm going to do with you. His hand left my throat, but I still felt branded, owned. Please, I whispered. I didn't know. Shh. His finger pressed against my lips. I'm not going to hurt you. At least, not in any way you won't eventually beg for. He stepped back, adjusting his cufflinks with casual elegance. But right now, I have business to attend to. Don't try to leave. Don't try to run. My men are outside every exit. This penthouse is your cage now, Bella. Get comfortable. He walked toward the door, and I found my voice again. Wait! You can't just... He turned, and the look in his eyes froze me solid. I can do whatever I want. That's what power means, Emma. You're in my world now. And in my world... He smiled. Cold and beautiful as a blade. I make the rules. The door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded like a gunshot. I stood alone in my gilded prison, the city lights mocking me through the windows, and realized I'd made a deal with the devil himself, and he had no intention of letting me go. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every creak of the building made me jump, expecting Dante to return. Every shadow seemed to hold one of his men, watching, waiting. I tried the door, locked from the outside. The windows didn't open beyond a crack, and we were 40 stories up anyway. My phone had no signal, and when I tried the room's landline, it just rang endlessly into void. By dawn, I'd worn a path in the carpet from pacing. My feet ached in the ridiculous heels they'd given me, so I kicked them off, leaving them scattered like evidence of a crime. The dress felt wrong against my skin. Too expensive, too revealing, a costume for a role I never auditioned for. The door opened just after 7. A woman entered pushing a cart, different from the ones who'd prepared me yesterday. Older, with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen everything and judged none of it. She didn't speak, just began setting out breakfast on the marble dining table. Coffee that smelled like heaven, pastries that looked too perfect to be real. Fresh fruit arranged like art. Wait, I said as she turned to leave. Please. I need to know what's happening. When can I leave? When will he... Mr. Moretti will return when he's ready. Her voice was neutral, professional. Eat. Shower. There are clothes in the closet. He doesn't like to be kept waiting. But I didn't agree to this. The contract you signed gives Mr. Moretti full discretion over the terms of your arrangement. She met my eyes then, and something almost like pity flickered there. My advice? Don't fight it. He always gets what he wants. Always. Fighting only makes it harder on yourself. She left, and the lock clicked again. I stared at the breakfast spread, my stomach churning. Part of me wanted to refuse it, to stage some small rebellion. But I hadn't eaten in nearly 24 hours, and the coffee smelled so good it hurt. I compromised with myself, ate enough to function, left the rest untouched as a meaningless gesture of defiance. The shower was obscene. Marble and gold fixtures, water pressure that felt like massage, products that probably cost more per bottle than I used to spend on groceries. I stood under the scalding spray until my skin turned red, trying to wash away the feeling of being owned. It didn't work. The closet held clothes in exactly my size. How did he know? All expensive, all beautiful, all feeling like a uniform. I chose the simplest thing I could find. Black jeans that fit like they were tailored for me, a soft cream sweater, boots that were somehow both practical and elegant. No jewelry. No makeup beyond what was necessary. If I had to be his prisoner, I'd at least look like myself. Hours crawled by. I found books, first editions that probably belonged in museums. A laptop, locked with a password I'd never guess. More windows showcasing the city below, where normal people lived normal lives, free to come and go as they pleased. My phone, my actual phone, sat on the nightstand. When had they brought it? I grabbed it, my hands shaking. Still no signal for calls, but I had internet access. Heavily monitored, probably. I pulled up my bank account anyway, and my breath caught. The money was there. All of it. More than Victor had promised. Enough for Mom's treatment, and then some. Enough to change everything. Enough to buy me. A text notification appeared. Treatment begins tomorrow. Your mother is being transferred to the best oncology center in the country. She'll receive the best care available. No signature. But I knew who sent it. I threw the phone across the room, watched it clatter against the wall. Then immediately scrambled to retrieve it, checking for damage with shaking hands. I couldn't afford to break it. Couldn't afford anything anymore. Every breath I took was on loan from Dante Moretti. The door opened at exactly 6 p.m. He entered like he owned the world, probably because in many ways he did. Still in a suit, this one charcoal gray, but his tie was loose and his hair slightly mussed, like he'd been running his hands through it. Those dark eyes found me immediately, assessing, cataloging every detail. You didn't eat much of breakfast, not a question. He'd been informed. Of course he had. I wasn't hungry. I stayed by the window, maintaining distance, as if distance mattered. He moved to the bar, poured 2 glasses of something amber and expensive, brought one to me, his fingers brushing mine as I reluctantly took it. That same electric shock of contact. Your mother is settled. The doctors are optimistic about her prognosis. He took a sip, watching me over the rim of his glass. You're welcome. I didn't thank you. No, he agreed. You didn't. Why is that, Emma? Because you trapped me. Because you bought me like property. Because I'm standing in a golden cage and you're holding the key. The words caught in my throat. You lied, I said instead. Or Victor did. The contract. Victor told you exactly what you needed to hear to sign. The contract said exactly what I needed it to say. He set his glass down, moved closer. I backed up until the window pressed cold against my spine. You were desperate. Desperate people don't read fine print. That's not fair. Not fair? He laughed, sharp and humorless. Bella, nothing about this world is fair. Fair is a fairy tale they tell children so they sleep at night. This is reality. Power, money, survival. You needed what I had. I wanted what you are. We made an exchange. I'm not a thing to be bought. Everyone's a thing to be bought. They just have different prices. His hand came up, fingers tangling in my hair, gentle but firm. Your price was your mother's life. I respect that. Family loyalty is... Something dark crossed his face. Rare, valuable. I shoved against his chest. It was like pushing marble. Let me go. No. The single word carried absolute finality. He caught my wrists when I tried again, pinning them above my head against the glass with one hand. His body pressed against mine, every hard plane of him evident through our clothes. I could feel his heart beating, steady and sure while mine raced like a trapped bird. I could break you, he murmured, his free hand tracing my jaw, my throat, the curve of my shoulder. So easily. But that's not what I want. I don't want a broken doll, Emma. I want you. All that fire, all that fear, all that desperate courage that made you walk into Victor's trap. Then what do you want? My voice came out breathless, traitorous. His smile was dangerous. Everything. Your time, your attention, your presence. You'll live here, in my world. Attend events with me. Be seen at my side. And at night. His thumb traced my lower lip. At night, you'll warm my bed and learn exactly what it means to belong to Dante Moretti. I won't. But even as I said it, my body betrayed me. Heat pooled low in my stomach. My pulse jumped under his touch. This was wrong. All wrong. But something primitive in me responded to the raw dominance rolling off him. You will. Because I own the contract that says so. Because your mother's treatment depends on your cooperation. Because deep down, he leaned in, his lips brushing my ear. You're curious. Terrified, yes, but curious about what it would feel like to surrender to someone who could destroy you. You're insane. Probably. He released my wrists, stepped back. The sudden absence of his heat left me cold. But I'm insane with resources. Insane with power. Insane enough to buy a woman I saw for 30 seconds and knew I had to possess. I rubbed my wrists, even though he hadn't hurt me. 30 seconds. 3 weeks ago. You were leaving the hospital late at night. You stood in the parking lot looking so lost, so breakable. I was there visiting someone. I saw you, and I couldn't stop thinking about you. His expression hardened, so I made inquiries, found out about your mother, about your debt, about your desperation, and I arranged for Victor to make you an offer. Horror washed over me. You orchestrated this, all of it. I saw an opportunity. I took it. That's what men like me do. He poured himself another drink. Don't look so betrayed, Kara. Your mother is receiving care that will save her life. You're living in luxury. The only cost is your freedom, and let's be honest. You didn't have much of that anyway, drowning in debt and grief. He was right, and I hated him for it. How long? I whispered. How long do I have to stay? Until I'm satisfied. Could be months, could be years. He turned to face me fully. Could be forever, if you please me. And if I don't, if I fight you every step, then it will be difficult for both of us. But I'll still win, Emma. I always do. He checked his watch. Expensive, probably worth more than most people's cars. I have a dinner meeting tonight. You'll accompany me. I'm not going anywhere with you, he sighed, like I was a child being unreasonable. You are. Because if you don't, I make one phone call and your mother's treatment stops. She gets transferred back to that underfunded hospital where she'll die within weeks. Is your pride worth her life? The words hit like a physical blow. He was a monster. A beautiful, well-dressed monster who held all the cards and knew exactly how to play them. I hate you, I said, meaning every syllable. Good. Hate is honest. Hate is real. He walked to the door, paused. Wear the red dress, the one hanging in the closet. Be ready in an hour. And if I'm not? He smiled over his shoulder. Then I'll dress you myself. And Bella, I promise you won't enjoy my methods nearly as much as you're pretending to resist them. The door closed. Locked. Again. I stood there shaking, fury and fear warring inside me. I wanted to scream, wanted to break something, wanted to wake up and discover this was all a nightmare. Instead, I went to the closet and found the red dress. The dress was a weapon. Crimson silk that clung to every curve, with a neckline that plunged dangerously low, and a slit up one thigh that felt obscene. The woman in the mirror looked like someone else. Sophisticated, sensual, dangerous. Not Emma Chen, who worked double shifts and ate ramen for dinner. Someone new. Someone owned. I was still staring at my reflection when the door opened without warning. Dante entered, and his eyes went dark when they landed on me. He'd changed too. Different suit. All black this time, making him look like sin incarnate. Perfect, he murmured, circling me like before. His fingers trailed across my bare shoulders, down my spine, leaving fire in their wake. Absolutely perfect. Don't touch me. But I didn't pull away. Couldn't somehow. I'll touch you whenever I want. That's the arrangement. He produced a jewelry box from his pocket, opened it. A necklace glittered inside, diamonds and rubies that probably cost more than I'd earn in a lifetime. Turn around. I did. Hated myself for it. Felt the cold weight of the gems settle against my throat like a collar as his fingers fastened the clasp. His breath was warm against my neck. Now everyone will know you're mine, he said softly, possessively, then offered his arm like a gentleman. Shall we? 2 bodyguards waited in the hallway, massive men in dark suits with earpieces and dead eyes. They flanked us as we walked to the elevator, as we descended to the underground garage where a black SUV waited, bulletproof glass gleaming under fluorescent lights. Is all this security really necessary? I asked as Dante handed me into the back seat. Always. He slid in beside me, and the door closed with a heavy thunk. I have many enemies, Emma, people who would hurt what's mine to get to me. You're protected now, but you're also a target. Stay close. Do as I say. And you'll be safe. The drive through the city felt surreal. Normal people walked normal streets, going to normal dinners, while I sat in a bulletproof car beside a man who owned me, wearing a necklace worth more than their houses. Where are we going? I finally asked. To meet associates, business dinner. You'll smile, look beautiful, and let them wonder who you are. Don't speak unless spoken to. Don't wander off. And under no circumstances tell anyone your real name. His hand settled on my thigh, possessive and warm. Tonight, you're just mine, understood? I wanted to argue, wanted to fight. But the weight of the necklace reminded me of the leash I wore. Invisible but unbreakable. Understood, I whispered. His smile was approval and promise. Good girl. The restaurant was even more exclusive than Victor's place. The kind that doesn't have a sign, that you'd walk past without noticing unless you knew it was there. Dante's hand stayed on the small of my back as we entered, guiding me through doors that opened at his approach, past staff who bowed their heads in deference. The private dining room held 6 men, all roughly Dante's age, all radiating the same dangerous energy, money and power and violence barely restrained. Their eyes crawled over me with various degrees of hunger and curiosity. "Gentlemen," Dante said smoothly, pulling out my chair. "Shall we begin?" And as I sat there, playing the role of beautiful accessory while they discussed business in careful code, I realized the depth of the world I'd stumbled into. These weren't businessmen, they were predators, and I belonged to the most dangerous one of all. The dinner felt endless. I sat in silence while they talked. Conversations layered with hidden meanings I couldn't quite decipher. Shipments and territories, percentages and disputes, names spoken with reverence or contempt. Dante's hand never left my thigh under the table, a constant reminder of ownership. Every so often his fingers would tighten, a silent command to stay still, stay quiet, stay perfect. One of the men, Lorenzo, with silver threading his dark hair and scars on his knuckles, kept staring at me with undisguised interest. "She's exquisite, Dante. Where did you find her?" "That's none of your concern." Dante's voice stayed pleasant, but something deadly flickered in his eyes. "Protective already?" Another man laughed, younger, with a gold watch that caught the light. "You've only had her what? A day. Careful, friend. You know what they say about catching feelings in our line of work." "I don't catch feelings, Marco. I acquire assets." Dante lifted his wine glass, the picture of casual indifference. But his hand on my leg had turned to iron. "And I protect what's mine, of course." Lorenzo smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Still, if you ever tire of her, I won't." The words came out flat, final. Dante's gaze pinned Lorenzo like a butterfly to a board, and if anyone touches what belongs to me, I'll remove their hands. Slowly. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Lorenzo raised his hands in mock surrender. "Message received. She's off limits." The conversation moved on, but the tension lingered. I felt like prey at a table of wolves, only surviving because the alpha had claimed me. My heart hammered against my ribs. The dress suddenly felt too tight, the necklace too heavy. I couldn't breathe properly. Dante must have sensed it. His thumb traced small circles on my thigh. Not sexual, almost comforting. "Breathe, Bella," he murmured, too low for the others to hear. "You're doing perfectly." But I wasn't. My vision was starting to tunnel, panic clawing up my throat, too many predatory eyes, too much danger crackling in the air like static electricity. The walls seemed to close in. "Excuse us." Dante stood abruptly, pulling me up with him. "I need a moment with my companion." He guided me out of the dining room, down a corridor, into a private bathroom, locked the door, then turned to me with something almost like concern in his dark eyes. "Look at me." His hands cupped my face, forcing me to meet his gaze. "Breathe, in through your nose, out through your mouth. That's it." I followed his instructions, hating that it helped, hating that his touch grounded me. "I can't do this," I gasped. "Those men, they're dangerous. You're dangerous. This whole world is—" "Yes, simple, honest. They are. I am, but you're safe with me, Emma. No one will hurt you. I won't allow it." "Why?" the question burst out. "Why me? You could have anyone. Women who belong in this world, who understand the rules. Why buy some random girl from outside a hospital?" His expression shifted, something raw flickering across his features before the mask slammed back down. "Because everyone in my world wants something from me. Power, money, connections. They smile and scheme and wait for opportunities to betray me. But you... His thumb traced my cheekbone. You looked at me tonight like I was a monster. Not a king, not a prize. A monster. And that honesty is more valuable than all the practiced seduction in the world. You are a monster, I know. He leaned in, his forehead almost touching mine. But I'm your monster now, and I take care of what's mine. Before I could respond, his mouth covered mine. The kiss was possession and promise, demand and surprising gentleness all at once. His hands tangled in my hair, angling my head exactly where he wanted it. I should have fought. Should have pushed him away. Instead, my traitorous body melted against him, responding to the dark heat he ignited. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. We should return, he said, voice rough. They'll talk if we're gone too long. Let them talk. The words came out before I could stop them. His smile was slow, dangerous, satisfied. Careful, Kara. I might start thinking you're enjoying this. I'm not. But we both knew it was a lie. We returned to the dinner. I made it through the rest of the meal in a daze, hyper-aware of Dante beside me, his kiss still burning on my lips. The other men seemed to sense the shift, their comments becoming more careful, their gazes sliding away from me more quickly. When we finally left, the city had transformed into a sea of lights. The SUV cut through traffic like a shark through water, Dante's security always vigilant. He made phone calls in rapid Italian. His native language, I realized, while I stared out the window and wondered who I was becoming. You did well tonight, he said after ending his last call. Better than I expected for your first exposure to that world. Are they all criminals? Your associates? That depends on your definition of criminal. His smile was wry. We operate in gray areas, import-export mostly, some ventures more legitimate than others. The Mafia. It wasn't a question. Such a dramatic word. I prefer to think of us as businessmen who occasionally bend rules that were made to keep powerful men in power. He studied me. Does it frighten you? Everything about you frightens me. Good. Fear keeps you cautious. Caution keeps you alive. The SUV pulled into the underground garage. But Emma, you're safer with me than you've ever been in your life. No one will touch you. No one will hurt you. You're under my protection now. And if I want to leave? Eventually? His expression hardened. That's not an option we're discussing. The penthouse felt different when we returned. Less like a prison, more like a lair. Dante shed his jacket, loosened his tie, poured himself a drink. I kicked off my heels with relief, my feet aching. Come here. It wasn't a request. I approached slowly, every instinct screaming warnings. He caught my hand, pulled me between his legs as he sat on the leather sofa. His fingers found the clasp of the necklace, removed it with careful precision. This stays in the safe when you're here. Too valuable to leave lying around. His hands moved to my shoulders, thumbs pressing into tense muscles. You're wound tight as a wire. Can you blame me? No. He continued the massage, finding knots I didn't know I had. But I can help. It felt too good. His hands were skilled, knowing exactly where to press, where to soothe. Despite everything, I felt myself relaxing, leaning into his touch. Why are you being nice to me? I asked softly. I'm not nice, Emma. Nice is weak. But I do take care of my possessions. His hands slid down my arms, and you intrigue me. That fire in your eyes, even when you're terrified. The way you stood up to me earlier, knowing I could destroy you. Most people in my life are sycophants or enemies. You're neither. What am I then? Mine. He pulled me down onto his lap, arranging me like a doll. Mine to protect. Mine to control. Mine to... His lips brushed my neck. Corrupt. I should have been horrified. Should have fought. Instead, I tilted my head, giving him better access. His mouth traced patterns on my skin, teeth grazing sensitive spots that made me gasp. We had a deal, I managed, one night. You said... I lied. He bit down gently on my earlobe. I told you. I own every night. Every moment. Starting His hands found the zipper of my dress, started lowering it with agonizing slowness. Panic and something dangerously close to desire warred inside me. Wait. I caught his wrist. I can't, I've never... He went still. Never? I couldn't meet his eyes, shame burning through me. I was too busy working, taking care of Mom. There was never time for dating, for this. For a long moment he said nothing, then he carefully zipped the dress back up, his touch almost reverent. Well, that changes things. Changes what? My timeline. He shifted me on his lap so I faced him. I'm many things, Emma. Ruthless, violent when necessary, possessive to a fault. But I don't take virgins on their first night in my bed. That requires finesse, preparation, trust. I'll never trust you. You will. Absolute certainty in those 2 words. Because I'm patient. Because I know how to seduce someone properly. And because despite yourself, you're already responding to me. He was right. God help me, he was right. My body had betrayed me all evening, leaning into his touch, responding to his kiss, craving his attention even while my mind screamed protests. Go to bed, Emma. He lifted me off his lap, gentle but firm. The guest room, not mine, not yet. When I take you, it will be because you're begging for it. That'll never happen. His smile was dark promise. We'll see. The guest room was smaller than the master suite, but still more luxurious than anywhere I'd ever lived. I changed into pajamas someone had stocked in the dresser. Silk, of course, because apparently Dante Moretti didn't do cheap anything, and lay awake staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Your mother is resting comfortably. Treatment begins at 8 a.m. She's asking for you. I typed back, can I visit her? The response came immediately, tomorrow afternoon. A car will take you. 2 guards will accompany you, non-negotiable. Even my visits to my dying mother were controlled. I wanted to throw the phone again. Instead, I clutched it to my chest and let silent tears fall. What had I done? What kind of deal had I made? I'd traded one cage for another. Mom's hospital room for Dante's penthouse, her death sentence for my own kind of captivity. But she would live. That was what mattered. She would live. I repeated it like a mantra until exhaustion finally dragged me under. Morning came too early. I woke to sun streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. For a blissful second, I forgot where I was. Then reality crashed back. I found Dante in the kitchen. Somehow he made even casual clothes look expensive, black slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. He was reading something on a tablet, a coffee cup in hand, looking every inch the powerful businessman. Good morning. He glanced up, those dark eyes assessing. You look terrible. Thanks, I muttered, heading for the coffee pot. Didn't sleep well? There was something almost like genuine concern in his tone. Would you? Knowing you're a prisoner? You're not a prisoner, Emma. You're a kept woman. There's a difference. He set down the tablet. The car leaves for the hospital at 2. You'll have an hour with your mother. My men will wait outside her room. An hour? That's all? For now. As you earn trust, privileges expand. He stood, moved closer. This doesn't have to be adversarial. Cooperate, and your life can be quite comfortable. Fight me at every turn, and it becomes difficult. You mean if I'm a good little pet, I get rewarded? His hand shot out, gripping my chin. Not painful, but firm enough to make his point. I mean, if you're smart, you adapt. This is your reality now. Fight it or accept it, but it's not changing. We stared at each other, wills clashing. Finally, he released me. Eat something. You'll need your strength. He grabbed his jacket from a chair. I have business today. Stay in the penthouse. Don't try anything foolish. And Emma? He paused at the door. I meant what I said last night. You're safe with me. Safer than you've ever been. Then he was gone, leaving me alone with my thoughts and fears, and the terrible, traitorous part of me that had felt protected in his arms. The hospital visit gutted me. Mom looked better, already somehow. Color in her cheeks that hadn't been there before. Machines that beeped with reassuring regularity instead of alarming urgency. The room was private, spacious, with a view of the hospital gardens instead of a brick wall. Money's influence was evident in every detail. Baby. She reached for me, and I took her hand carefully, afraid she might break. Look at you. That's a designer sweater. And your hair. Did you get it done? Something like that. I couldn't tell her the truth. Could never tell her the truth. How are you feeling? Better? The doctors here are amazing. They started some new treatment this morning, and they're so optimistic. Tears shimmered in her eyes. I don't know how you managed this, Emma, but don't worry about it, Mom. Just focus on getting better. But the cost is handled, completely handled. I squeezed her hand. You don't have to worry about money ever again. She studied my face with a mother's intuition. What did you do? I found a solution. Not a lie, exactly. A good job. With benefits. Really good benefits. Emma Chen, you're a terrible liar. But she smiled, tired and weak. Whatever it is, whatever you did, thank you. I know it couldn't have been easy, if only she knew. We talked about small things, the nurses, the food, the view from her window. I held her hand and pretended everything was normal, that I wasn't living in a gilded cage owned by a man who could probably have someone killed with a phone call. When the hour ended, leaving felt like tearing off skin. Dante's guards waited in the hallway. Marco and Felix, I'd learned their names. Both massive, both silent, both constantly scanning for threats that probably weren't there. They flanked me as we walked to the SUV, and I felt simultaneously protected and imprisoned. The drive back took us through parts of the city I'd never seen, where old money lived, where streets were tree-lined and houses were mansions. We pulled up to a property that made the penthouse look modest by comparison. Wrought iron gates, a circular driveway, architecture that whispered old-world elegance. Where are we? I asked Marco, who occasionally spoke. Mr. Moretti's home. He requested you be brought here, not the penthouse. His actual home. Something about that felt more intimate, more dangerous. The interior was exactly what I expected. Expensive, tasteful, with touches that spoke of heritage and power. Dark wood, leather furniture, art that probably belonged in museums. But there were personal elements too. Photos on a mantel, books that looked read, a jacket tossed over a chair like someone actually lived here. Emma. Dante appeared from a side room, still in business attire but with his tie gone and collar open. How is your mother? Better. Thanks to you. The words tasted like ashes. Why am I here? Because I want you here. Come. He gestured for me to follow. I'll show you around. The house was massive, rooms that flowed into other rooms, each more beautiful than the last. A library with floor-to-ceiling books, a dining room that could seat 20, a kitchen that was somehow both modern and timeless. He showed me everything with obvious pride. This was my grandfather's house, he explained. Left to me when he died. It's been in the Moretti family for 3 generations. It's beautiful. I hated that I meant it. It's home. He led me upstairs, down a hallway. And it will be yours too, eventually. The penthouse is convenient for business, but this is where I actually live. He opened a door, revealing a bedroom that took my breath away. Enormous, with a canopy bed that looked like something from a fairy tale. Windows overlooking gardens, colors in cream and gold that felt warm despite the elegance. This is the mistress suite, Dante said quietly, connected to the master through that door. My grandmother decorated it. It's been empty since she died. Why are you showing me this? Because in 3 days you're moving here. He turned to face me. The penthouse served its purpose, breaking you in, establishing control. But I don't want you living in what amounts to a fancy hotel. I want you here, in my home, in my life. The words hung heavy between us. This wasn't just about sex or possession anymore. He was trying to make this permanent, to weave me into the fabric of his existence. I can't, I whispered. Dante, I can't play house with you like this is normal. Why not? Your mother is being cared for. You have security, comfort, everything you need. What's so terrible about accepting that? Because it's not real. None of this is real. You bought me. This isn't a relationship, it's ownership. His jaw tightened. And yet you kissed me back last night, responded to my touch, leaned into me when I held you. That doesn't mean... It means your body knows what your mind refuses to accept. You're drawn to me, Emma, to my power, my protection, the way I make you feel. He moved closer, backing me against the wall. You can hate me all you want, but you can't deny the chemistry between us. Chemistry doesn't make this right. Nothing about my world is right. His hand cupped my face, thumb tracing my lips. But it's honest. I want you, I took you, and now I'm keeping you. No games, no pretense, just raw truth. That's not love, Dante. That's possession. I never claimed to love you. Something flickered in his eyes. Was it hurt? I don't know if I'm capable of love anymore. This life burns that out of you, but I crave you. Need you in a way that terrifies me. And I protect what I need. His honesty disarmed me more than pretty lies would have. At least he wasn't pretending this was a romance. At least he wasn't trying to gaslight me into thinking this was normal. I need time, I said finally, to process this, to figure out how to survive in your world. You have 3 days before the move. Use them wisely. He stepped back, giving me space. But Emma, whether you accept it or not, this is happening. You're mine. The sooner you stop fighting that, the easier everything becomes. That evening, he took me to an art gallery opening. I wore black this time, a dress that was elegant rather than sexy, making me look sophisticated. Dante kept me close, his hand perpetually on my lower back, introducing me to people as my companion without ever giving my real name. I played the role, smiled, nodded, said little. But I watched everything, the way people deferred to him, the fear mixed with respect in their eyes, how conversations paused when he approached, resumed carefully after he left. This wasn't just wealth. This was power that came from somewhere darker. You're learning, he murmured during a quiet moment, handing me champagne. I can see you cataloging everything. What am I supposed to be learning? My world, its rules, where you fit in it. His fingers trailed down my arm. You're doing well. Several people have already asked who you are. And what did you tell them? That you're mine. That's all they need to know. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned. I need to handle something. Stay here. Don't wander. Marco is watching. He disappeared into the crowd, leaving me by a sculpture that probably cost more than my old apartment building. I sipped champagne, studying the other guests. Beautiful people wearing beautiful clothes, discussing beautiful things. But underneath the polish, I sensed the same predatory energy from the dinner. These were sharks in evening wear. You must be special. I turned. A woman stood beside me, late 20s, stunning in emerald silk, with dark hair and eyes that assessed me like competition. I'm sorry. To catch Dante Moretti's attention. He doesn't usually bring companions to events. She extended a manicured hand. I'm Valentina. I shook it carefully. Nice to meet you. You're not going to tell me your name? Her smile didn't reach her eyes. How mysterious. Though I suppose Dante has his reasons for keeping you anonymous. Protection, probably. He has so many enemies. Do you know him well? We grew up together. Our families are connected. Something bitter crossed her face. I always thought we'd end up together, actually. But Dante doesn't do relationships. He does acquisitions. The word stung more than it should have. You look uncomfortable, Valentina continued, sipping her own champagne. First time in this world? Let me give you some advice. Don't get attached. Men like Dante, they're incapable of real emotion. You're a toy to him. Something shiny and new. But toys get boring. Thanks for the warning. I kept my voice neutral, even as her words burrowed under my skin. Don't mention it. Girl code. She studied me with something almost like pity. Though, between us, you seem different from his usual type. Maybe you'll last longer than the others. Or maybe, she shrugged, maybe you'll wise up and run before he completely destroys you. She drifted away, leaving me shaken. Others. There had been others. Of course there had been. Men like Dante didn't suddenly discover possession. They perfected it over time. What did Valentina want? Dante reappeared, his tone sharp. To warn me about you. I met his eyes. She said I'm just a toy, that you'll get bored. His expression darkened. Valentina is bitter because I rejected her advances years ago. Don't listen to her poison. Is she wrong, though? Have there been others? Yes. No hesitation. But none of them were you. What makes me so different? Everything. He pulled me closer, lowering his voice. You don't want to be here. Don't want my money or my name. You'd run if you could. That honesty, that resistance, it's addictive. The others came willingly, saw me as a prize to win, but you see the monster, and somehow that makes me want to prove I'm more than that. Are you? More than a monster? I don't know. Rare vulnerability flickered across his face. But with you, I want to find out. Before I could respond, chaos erupted. Gunshots, sharp cracks that shattered the elegant atmosphere. Screams, glass breaking. Dante moved faster than I thought possible, his body covering mine as he drove us both to the floor behind the sculpture. Marco and Felix appeared from nowhere, weapons drawn, creating a shield around us. Stay down, Dante commanded, his weight pinning me. More shots. Shouting in Italian, the acrid smell of gunpowder mixing with expensive perfume. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might burst. Then silence. Terrible, ringing silence. Clear, someone called. Dante rose, pulling me up with him. The gallery was chaos, people hiding, crying, security everywhere, but no blood, no bodies. Warning shots, I realized. Someone sending a message. Get her out, Dante ordered Marco. Now, back to the house. Maximum security. What about you? I clutched his jacket, suddenly terrified of being separated. I need to handle this. He cupped my face, his eyes blazing. Go with Marco. Lock yourself in the bedroom. Don't open the door for anyone but me. Understand? Dante. Emma. His voice cracked like a whip. This is my world. This is what I tried to prepare you for. Now go. Before whoever did this decides to finish the job. Marco dragged me away. I looked back once, saw Dante surrounded by his men, his face transformed into something cold and deadly. The businessman was gone. In his place stood the true Don, ruthless, dangerous, absolutely in control. The drive back was silent. Marco drove like the devil himself was chasing us, running red lights, taking corners that threw me against the door. Felix was on the phone, speaking rapid Italian I couldn't follow. At the house, they hustled me inside, checked every room, stationed guards at every entrance. Marco took me upstairs to that beautiful bedroom. Stay here. Mr. Moretti will return when it's safe. He paused at the door. And, miss, for what it's worth, he cares about you. More than he's cared about anyone in a long time. The way he covered you back there, that's not just possession, that's protection. Then I was alone, locked in a dead woman's bedroom, waiting for a monster to come home and wondering when I'd started hoping he would. Hours crawled by. I paced the bedroom like a caged animal, jumping at every sound. The house was too quiet, that oppressive silence that comes before storms. Outside the windows, Dante's guards patrolled the grounds with military precision, their silhouettes dark against security lights. My phone buzzed. A text from the hospital. Your mother is sleeping peacefully, all vitals stable. At least she was safe. Whatever danger stalked Dante's world, at least Mom was insulated from it. Small comfort when gunshots still echoed in my memory. The door opened at 3 a.m. Dante entered, and I gasped. His shirt was torn, blood spattering the white fabric. Not his, I realized with relief, but someone's. His knuckles were split and bruising. He looked like he'd walked through hell and dragged something back with him. You're hurt. I moved toward him instinctively. It's not my blood. He shrugged off his jacket, winced. Mostly. Mostly? I pulled him toward the bathroom, flipping on lights. Sit. To my surprise, he obeyed. I found a first aid kit under the sink. Of course there was one. And began cleaning his knuckles with antiseptic. He watched me work, something unreadable in his dark eyes. You should have seen the other guy, he said dryly. This isn't funny, Dante. Someone tried to kill you tonight. Not kill. Warn. There's a difference. He caught my hand as I dabbed at a cut. They wanted to remind me that I'm not untouchable, that the people I care about can be hurt. Who are they? Rivals. Former associates who think I'm getting too powerful. Take your pick. He pulled me between his legs, his hands settling on my hips. But they made a mistake tonight. What mistake? They showed me that I have a weakness now. His grip tightened. They'll come after you to get to me, use you as leverage. Hurt you to hurt me. Fear slithered down my spine. Then let me go. Send me away where I'll be safe. No. Absolute finality. You're safest with me, under my protection. They got close tonight because I was arrogant, complacent. That won't happen again. Dante, I killed 3 men tonight, Emma. His voice was flat, emotionless. Personally. With my own hands, because they put you in danger, because they shattered the illusion that you could exist in my world without consequence. He stood, towering over me. So no, I'm not letting you go. I'm doing the opposite. I'm binding you to me so tightly that anyone who wants to hurt you knows they'll have to go through me first. And I promise you, his eyes blazed, I'm not an easy man to go through. The violence in his words should have terrified me, should have sent me running. Instead, I felt something warm and dangerous bloom in my chest. Protection. Real. Absolute protection. How long had it been since anyone protected me? Since I wasn't the one holding everything together alone. Show me, I whispered. Show you what? That I'm yours. That this isn't just words. The decision crystallized as I spoke. You said I'd beg for it. I'm not begging, but I'm asking. Claim me, Dante. Make it real. His expression shifted. Surprise, hunger, something almost like reverence. Emma, you don't know what you're asking. I know exactly what I'm asking. I reached for his blood-stained shirt, began unbuttoning it with shaking fingers. Tonight someone tried to hurt us. Tomorrow might bring worse. I'm tired of fighting this, tired of pretending I don't feel the pull between us. You want me? Then take me. Before I lose my nerve. He caught my hands, stilling them. If we do this, there's no going back. You'll be mine in every way that matters. Body, mind, soul. I don't do casual, Emma. I consume. Then consume me. I met his eyes, letting him see my surrender. I'm already drowning in your world. Might as well dive all the way in. Something broke in him. That last thread of restraint. His mouth crashed onto mine with barely leashed hunger. All pretense of gentleness abandoned. This wasn't the controlled kiss from before. This was possession, pure and raw. His hands were everywhere, my hair, my back, pulling me flush against him. He lifted me easily, carried me to that canopy bed, laid me down like I was precious, breakable, then covered my body with his, and I felt the full weight of what it meant to be claimed by Dante Moretti. Last chance. He breathed against my lips. Say no now and I'll stop. Walk away, but once I start, don't stop. I pulled him down. Don't you dare stop. What followed was fire and darkness and pleasure so intense it bordered on pain. He was demanding but surprisingly tender, taking his time despite obvious restraint. When I winced, he slowed. When I gasped, he gentled his touch. He learned my body like a map, finding places that made me arch and cry out, whispering Italian words I didn't understand, but felt in my bones. When he finally made me his completely, the pain was brief, swallowed by overwhelming sensation. He held me through it, murmuring reassurance, waiting until I adjusted before moving. And then, God then, it was everything. Consuming, devastating, transformative. He broke me apart and put me back together as something new, something his. Afterwards, we lay tangled in expensive sheets, both breathing hard. His fingers traced idle patterns on my skin, possessive even in the aftermath. Mine, he murmured against my hair. No going back now, Bella. You're branded, claimed, mine in every way. I know. And I did. Something fundamental had shifted. I'd surrendered, and he'd conquered, and now we were bound by something more permanent than contracts or money. Dante? I'm still terrified of you. He laughed, low and dark. Good, fear keeps you sharp. But Emma? He tilted my face up, forcing me to meet those intense eyes. You're the only thing I'm terrified of, too. Me? Why? Because you make me weak? Make me care? Make me want things I swore I'd never want? His thumb traced my swollen lips. You're my Achilles heel, and in my world, weakness gets you killed. Then maybe we'll just have to be strong together. His smile was beautiful and terrible. Is that your way of saying you're staying? I thought about Mom, safe in her hospital bed, about the life I'd left behind. Struggling, drowning, losing everything slowly, about this new life, dangerous but secure, terrifying but protected, about the monster holding me like I was precious. I'm staying, I whispered. Not because of the contract, because I choose to. Even knowing what I am, what I do. Especially knowing that, I kissed him softly. You're a monster, Dante Moretti, but you're my monster. And maybe I'm learning to be yours. 3 months later, the house felt like home. Mom had been released from treatment, cancer-free. The doctors proclaimed it a miracle. She'd moved into a comfortable apartment nearby, close enough to visit, but far enough to give us space. She still didn't know the full truth about Dante, but she'd accepted that her daughter had found someone powerful who cared for her. I'd learned to navigate his world, the dinners with dangerous men, the events where violence hummed beneath polished surfaces, the constant security. Learned to shoot a gun. Dante insisted on it. Learned Italian, so I could understand his business calls. Learned the hierarchy of his organization, who was loyal and who bore watching. But I'd also seen other sides of him. The way he called Mom's doctors personally to check on her progress. How he'd arranged for her favorite flowers to be delivered every week. The night I'd found him in the library, staring at a photo of his own mother, dead for years, with such longing it broke my heart. You're thinking too loud, Dante said, entering the bedroom where I was getting ready for another event, just remembering. I turned, admiring him in his tuxedo. How much has changed. Regrets? He moved behind me, helping with my necklace. A new one, custom-made, diamonds and sapphires that spelled his name against my throat. Ownership made beautiful, some days. Honesty. We'd promised each other honesty. The fear doesn't go away completely. But the other feelings... I met his eyes in the mirror. They get stronger. What other feelings? I turned in his arms. You know what feelings? His smile was slow, satisfied. Say it anyway. I want to hear it. You arrogant ass. There it is. He kissed me deeply. I love you too, Emma Chen. My greatest weakness. My most valuable possession. You're equal, I corrected. We agreed on equal. Equal, he conceded with amusement. Though you have to admit, I still win most of our arguments. Only because you cheat. I prefer to think of it as using all available resources. His phone buzzed. Always, constantly. Business never stopped. He glanced at it, frowned. Lorenzo is making noise again. I need to handle it. The same Lorenzo from that first dinner? The same. He's been problematic, questioning my leadership, suggesting I've gone soft since... He gestured between us. Since you. Something cold settled in my stomach. Am I making you vulnerable? You're making me human. He cupped my face. There's a difference. And anyone who mistakes humanity for weakness learns differently. Permanently. Dante, I need to make a statement. Show that caring about you hasn't weakened me. It's made me more dangerous, because now I have something worth protecting. His expression hardened. Lorenzo crossed a line, threatened you, indirectly, suggested you were a liability. What are you going to do? What I always do. Eliminate threats. He kissed my forehead. Don't wait up. This might take a while. Fear spiked through me. Be careful. Always. He paused at the door. Emma, if something happens to me, don't. I couldn't hear it. Don't say that. If something happens, he continued firmly, Marco has instructions. Money, protection, everything you need. You'll be safe. Your mother will be safe. I've made sure of it. I don't want your money if you're not here. Then consider it motivation for me to come back. His smile was wicked. Besides, who else is going to put up with your stubborn streak? He left, and I was alone with my thoughts and fears, and the terrible knowledge of what he was walking into. The call came at 2 a.m., Marco's voice, grim. There's been an incident. Mr. Moretti wants you at the hospital. Now, my heart stopped. Is he? He's alive. But you need to come. Bring the documents from his safe. The red folder. The drive was a blur. The hospital, not the fancy one where Mom stayed, but a private facility that asked no questions. Hummed with quiet efficiency, Marco led me through security to a private wing. Dante was in a room, sitting up in bed, arguing with a doctor in rapid Italian. His shirt was off, revealing bandages across his ribs and a bandage on his shoulder. "You're supposed to be resting," the doctor said in exasperated English, clearly not for the first time. "I'm fine. Get out." Dante's eyes found mine, softened slightly. "Emma." I waited until the doctor left, then rushed to his side. "What happened?" Lorenzo made his move, brought men to a meeting, thought he could take me out. Dante winced as I touched near his bandage. He thought wrong, but he got a shot off before, well, let's say Lorenzo won't be a problem anymore. "You killed him." "Yes." "No remorse. He threatened you, suggested you should have an accident, that my obsession with you made me weak." His hand caught mine. "So I showed him exactly how weak I am, by putting 6 bullets in him myself. I should have been horrified, should have run screaming. Instead, I felt a twisted sense of security. This man had killed for me, would kill again. That level of devotion, however dark, was intoxicating." "The red folder," Marco said quietly, placing it on the bedside table, as requested. Dante opened it with his good hand, pulled out documents. "I had these drawn up weeks ago. Was waiting for the right time." I looked at the papers. Legal documents, complex and official. My name appeared repeatedly. "What is this?" "Marriage papers, property deeds, access to everything I own." He met my eyes. "I'm making you my wife, Emma. Legally, officially, in every way that matters. You're asking me to marry you, now? In a hospital after you've been shot? I'm not asking. I'm telling you what's already in motion." But his expression gentled. "Though if you want me to ask properly..." He shifted, started to move off the bed. "Don't you dare try to kneel with those injuries." I pushed him back. "You're insane." "Probably. Is that a yes?" I looked at him. This beautiful, dangerous, possessive monster who'd turned my life upside down. Who'd saved my mother, claimed my body, stolen my heart. Who'd killed for me, and would probably kill again. Who made me feel protected and terrified and alive all at once. "Yes," I whispered. "You arrogant, controlling, impossible man." "Yes." His smile could have lit the city. "Good. Because the wedding is in 2 weeks. Intimate ceremony. Just family." 2 weeks? Dante? "I'm not waiting longer. Not giving anyone time to object or plot or try to use you against me. You become my wife. You get my name, my protection, my entire world." He pulled me down for a kiss that tasted like victory. "And I get you. Forever. No escape clauses this time. I don't want to escape." And I meant it. Somewhere in the chaos and fear and passion, I'd fallen in love with my captor. Stockholm Syndrome, maybe. Or maybe just recognizing that sometimes monsters make the best protectors. "I love you," he said against my lips. "My Emma. My weakness. My strength. My everything." "I love you too." I settled carefully beside him on the hospital bed. "My monster. My protector. My home." The wedding was small but perfect. Mom cried happy tears, still not fully understanding who Dante was, but seeing how he looked at me. His men filled the pews, killers in tuxedos, dangerous but devoted. Valentina even attended, her congratulations genuine if slightly bitter. I wore white, virginal irony considering Dante had claimed that particular prize months ago. He wore black, because of course he did, and looked like sin incarnate. When we said our vows, his voice was rough with emotion. When he slipped the ring on my finger, diamonds that probably cost more than most people's houses, his hand shook slightly. "You're mine now," he whispered as we were pronounced husband and wife. "Legally, officially, permanently mine." "And you're mine," I reminded him. "Equal, remember?" "Equal," he agreed, sealing it with a kiss that scandalized the priest. The reception was bigger. His entire organization, all the important families, everyone who needed to see that Dante Moretti had claimed his bride. I danced with him under chandeliers, his hand possessive on my waist, and felt the weight of 100 calculating stares. "They're all wondering," Dante murmured, "how long this will last, if you're strong enough for this life." "And what do you think?" "I think you're the strongest person I know. You survived losing everything. Survived me. Survived 3 attempts on your life since we met. Because there had been more, incidents he'd handled quietly. You're not just my wife, Emma. You're my partner, my queen." "Queens get to make decisions too," I reminded him. "Within reason." But he was smiling. "I'm holding you to that. I'm counting on it." He kissed me again, deeper this time. "Ready for our honeymoon? Where are we going?" "Sicily. Where my family originated. I want to show you where I came from. Who I was before I became this." He gestured to the opulent reception, the dangerous men, the empire he'd built. "Want you to understand all of me. I already understand you. Do you?" Something vulnerable flickered in his eyes. "Even the darkest parts, especially those." I took his face in my hands. "I see all of you, Dante Moretti. The monster and the man. The killer and the protector. And I love every part, even the parts that terrify me." His eyes glistened. Actual tears quickly blinked away. "How did I get so lucky?" "You didn't get lucky. You got ruthless, manipulative. You orchestrated everything to trap me." "True." He didn't even try to deny it, "but you stayed by choice, fought for us. Chose me when you could have run. Where would I run to? You'd just find me." But I was smiling. "Every time. I'd chase you to the ends of the earth." He pulled me closer. "But you won't run, will you? Never." I meant it with every fiber of my being. "I'm exactly where I belong. In your arms. In your life. In your dangerous, impossible world." "Then welcome home, Mrs. Moretti." He kissed me one more time, and I tasted forever in it. "Welcome to your empire." And as we danced under those glittering lights, surrounded by killers and criminals and the dangerous elite of his world, I realized something profound. I'd sold myself for money, but I'd found something worth infinitely more. Love, protection, home. I'd walked into his trap willingly, and somewhere along the way, he'd fallen into mine. We'd claimed each other, saved each other, became something stronger together than we'd ever been apart. The girl who'd stood outside that hospital, desperate and alone, was gone. In her place stood Dante Moretti's wife. Protected, powerful, and entirely, completely his. And he was mine. Forever. Epilogue. 1 year later, I stood in the nursery of our home, rocking our daughter to sleep, Sophia. Named after Dante's mother, she had his dark eyes and my stubborn chin, and she'd wrapped her father around her tiny finger from the moment she was born. "Is she asleep?" Dante appeared in the doorway, still in his work clothes, but with that soft expression he reserved only for Sophia and me. "Almost." I laid her carefully in her crib, the most heavily guarded nursery in the city. No one would ever threaten our daughter. Dante had made sure of that. He pulled me into his arms, and we stood watching our baby sleep. Mom visited twice a week, healthy and vibrant, spoiling her granddaughter shamelessly. Life had become something I never imagined. Dangerous still, but filled with love and protection and surprising joy. "Any regrets?" Dante asked, like he still needed reassurance. "Only that I didn't demand a higher price when I sold myself to you." I smiled up at him. "Could have negotiated for 2 daughters instead of 1. He laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "We can work on that. I'm very motivated to negotiate." "I know you are." I kissed him softly. "I love you, Dante. I love you more, Emma. My salvation. My redemption. The woman who tamed a monster and made him human again. You were always human. You just needed someone to remind you." We stood there in the soft glow of the nightlight, watching our daughter breathe, and I thought about that desperate girl outside the hospital, how she'd made an impossible choice, how that choice had led her here, to love, to family, to home. I'd sold myself to the Mafia boss for money, but he'd given me the world, and I'd given him my heart, fair trade.